Okay, now we're here with Gary Hickerson, who's a sculptor. Tell us about your sculptures. They are very unique, I would almost use the word organic. Tell us what what inspired you? How'd you get started?
I've always been in the arts, I guess, even as a young kid. I've had the opportunity to have teachers that have inspired me throughout the years. In high school, I excelled in pottery, but I always felt limited by the vessel. And pottery is somewhat of something to contain something rather than being full. And so, my work, I think I've tried to incorporate that fullness in it to kind of exemplify the life, containing life. And so.
Now, I've noticed a lot of shapes, obviously big shapes with your sculptures, that they have a lot of rounded edges and stuff like that. Or I guess you wouldn't call them an edge, it's round and stuff like that. So tell us what that kind of is symbolic of.
I think emotionally, I think we respond to rounded objects, in life. The cube and the linear object is, in my opinion, overrepresented in our culture. I think it was influenced mostly from the minimalists, and so our architecture, buildings, grid systems, everything is in one way or another rectilinear. And so what I'm trying to do with my work is to introduce more curvilinear objects. Also being influenced by, my first car was a Volkswagen Bug, and my brother Robert had me sand on this thing, to perfection in order to get a nice paint job on it. And during this process, I learned, I began to understand the form with my hands, and so, feel is very important in my work.
I also noticed in the other room there's a sculpture of, it almost looks, and I'm sure you get this all the time, like a big caterpillar or something like that, which I'm sure that's not what it is. I'm sure I'm not saying the right word, but it kind of basic, or like I said, organic once again. So tell us about that one in there.
The wonderful thing about I feel like that my pieces help to do is to encourage the audience to be invited to imagine also with me. And so the fact that they are not anything in particular is an aspect that I actually strive for. The caterpillar-looking one in particular, it's easier to make an insect, but I try to throw in those elements that, like the wheel, to add an element of ambiguity and to create some mystery, so that it's a little more interesting, and then it can become something more than just an insect. People move on when they've seen something and they've taken, what they want to from it, they generally move on. And so the more you can captivate your audience for even a millisecond, even more, is really important for the visual arts.